There was a man in my bedroom. Let me say that again, in case it didn't land. There was a man, a completely unknown man, standing in my bedroom at my surprise party, drinking my whiskey, wearing a hoodie I last saw in my laundry basket. He didn't flinch when I walked in, just looked up from the glass in his hand and said, "Hey man, hey man." That was it. That was the moment something inside me stopped working properly. Not snapped. That would have been cleaner. No, it was more like a soft unhooking. Like a wire had quietly come loose in my head. There were cheers coming from downstairs. Laughter. Loud music. Somebody had turned the living room into a balloon graveyard. There were banners with my name on them. Someone made brownies shaped like tiny records. I work in radio, whatever. Darcy was down there somewhere, laughing that laugh she saves for other people. I just stood there, at the top of the stairs, looking at him. He was taller than me. That was the first thing I hated about him. And calm. He didn't belong in my house, and yet he was somehow more relaxed than I'd ever been in it. "Do I know you?" I asked. He smiled. "No, I don't think so. I'm a friend of Darcy's." I didn't say anything. My ears were ringing. The music downstairs felt like it was coming through the floorboards, like the whole house was trying to drown me. He raised his glass and gave it a little swirl like we were in some kind of whiskey club. "She said I could chill up here. Just needed a minute, you know?" No, I didn't know. I didn't know why a stranger was in my room, with my things, drinking my drink, during a party I didn't even want. I turned around and walked out. That should have been the end of it. But then I saw it. In the hallway, just beyond the door, sitting on the carpet like it had been gently tossed there, Darcy's bracelet. The one I bought her in Lisbon. The one with the tiny sun-shaped charm that always got caught in her sweaters. And next to it, a crumpled shirt. Not hers. His. I don't remember walking back into the bedroom. I don't even remember grabbing the shirt. But I remember the look on his face when he saw it in my hand. Something flickered in his eyes. Just for a second. A little ripple of panic. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew this wasn't just some friend stopping by for cake and party hats. This was something else. I stared at him. He stared back. "Do you want to come downstairs?" I asked. He hesitated, then shook his head. "I think I'll wait here." I nodded. Walked back down. Through the noise. Through the cheap decorations. Through a dozen smiling faces I couldn't stand to look at. And then I saw Darcy. And she saw me. And she froze. Like a statue in the middle of her own party. That's when I realized. She had no idea I'd be home early. Darcy's face didn't just go blank. It drained. Like someone had pulled the power cord on her whole personality. Her hands were mid-air in a toast, frozen. Her mouth was caught in a smile that no longer made sense. The room was still laughing, still clapping, still celebrating, but she was standing there like someone had just whispered a secret in her ear that shattered everything. I didn't say anything. I just stood at the bottom of the stairs, letting her squirm in silence. It took her a full 5 seconds to snap out of it. 5 seconds that felt like 5 chapters of a murder novel. Then came the overcompensation. The sudden bounce in her step, the big arms-wide smile, the high-pitched, "You're home early." Yeah, I was. I was supposed to arrive an hour later. She told everyone. "He gets off at 7:45. Let's shout surprise at 8 sharp." But I left work early because I got a headache. That's it. No big drama. Just one boring little decision that unraveled everything. She rushed over and kissed me. I didn't kiss back. I couldn't. I still had the guy's shirt in my hand. I'd shoved it into my back pocket on my way down, but I could feel the fabric pressing against me like a loaded secret. Her lipstick grazed the edge of my mouth, and I flinched slightly. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did, and pretended not to. "Did you see it? Did you like the surprise?" she asked, voice a little too bubbly. I just nodded. "It's a lot." That's when I started really looking around the room. Faces. So many faces. Some I recognized, some I didn't. And then my eyes landed on one that made my skin go cold. A guy standing by the fireplace, talking to her coworker Taylor. I'd seen that guy once before, in a photo on Darcy's phone. A picture she claimed was from a volunteer trip. She said it was a group shot. He wasn't in the group, though. He was just next to her. Too close. I moved slowly through the crowd, pretending to smile, pretending to appreciate the decorations, the snacks, the Spotify playlist Darcy always mocked me for being bad at making. My head was buzzing so loud I couldn't hear anything anyone was saying. I just nodded, laughed in the wrong places. Every 10 seconds I glanced at the stairs, wondering if Hoodie Boy was still up there. Then I heard someone say it, just loud enough to punch a hole through the noise. Wait, is Lennox here? The name stabbed me in the chest like it had been waiting for hours to do exactly that. Lennox. That was the name on the card I found in the laundry room last week. The one she claimed was a joke from a coworker. I asked her about it, and she laughed it off so easily, I actually felt embarrassed for asking. Oh my God, babe, it's just Lennox. He's, like, the most dramatic guy in the office. He probably wrote that for 3 people. I believed her. Because that's what I do. I believe people. I give them space. I make excuses for them. I turn red flags into pink flags, and then into scarves and wrap myself in them like a freezing idiot. But now I was watching Lennox laugh at something near the chips table, and suddenly I wasn't cold anymore. I was boiling. Darcy grabbed my arm. Hey, come meet some of the new people from my team, she said quickly, as if trying to steer me away. She pulled me toward the kitchen, and that's when I asked it. Is Lennox here? She paused, just for half a beat, barely noticeable. Then, yeah, of course. He helped decorate. Of course he did. I let her walk me to the kitchen and introduce me to a couple of interns I didn't care about. But my eyes kept darting toward the stairwell. I was waiting for it. Waiting for Hoodie Boy to come down. Waiting for the party to fall apart. Then I realized something else. There was no cake. Not yet, anyway. No singing. No candles. And if there's one thing Darcy lives for, it's birthday cake photos. It's her ritual. I've literally seen her make waiters relight candles because someone blinked during the picture. So I turned to her and asked, Hey, when's the cake coming out? And for the first time all night, she didn't have an answer ready. Her mouth opened, closed. Then she looked toward the pantry. I think it's still in the fridge, she mumbled. Lennox brought it. Of course he did. The cake never came. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Darcy kept smiling and making small talk like nothing was wrong, but I could see the cracks forming. Her eyes darted toward the pantry every few seconds, then up the staircase, then back to her phone. Her hands were moving too much, adjusting decorations that didn't need adjusting, realigning snack trays, smoothing her dress every 30 seconds like she was trying to distract herself from her own heartbeat. Everyone else was oblivious. They were drinking and joking, talking about weekend plans and some new Netflix series. Someone had brought one of those dumb disposable film cameras, and guests were taking random flash photos that made the room feel like a crime scene waiting to happen. I wanted to scream, or cry, or both. But instead, I stood next to the kitchen island, sipping flat soda and chewing the same stale chip for what felt like an hour, because that's all I could do without falling apart in public. I caught Lennox looking at Darcy at least 3 times when he thought no one was watching. Not looking at her like a coworker does, but like a man who knows something he shouldn't know. Like someone who's memorized a version of her no one else is supposed to see. Each time their eyes met, she'd quickly turn away, forcing a laugh or grabbing someone's arm in forced conversation. It was a performance, and it was bad. I excused myself to the bathroom. Not because I needed to use it, but because I needed to breathe without watching her pretend. As I passed the stairs, I looked up. Nothing. The door to our bedroom was still closed. I stood there for a moment, staring up at it, feeling the weight of it like a ceiling was about to fall. I took a step up. Just one. Then Darcy's voice cut through the music. Babe, can you grab the napkins from the garage? Of course. A distraction. I nodded without turning around and went to the garage. I didn't grab the napkins. I grabbed my coat. I reached into the inside pocket where I keep my phone charger and pulled out a cheap little item I never thought I'd need. A tiny voice recorder. I bought it a week ago on a whim after I found the card. I told myself I was being ridiculous, paranoid, even obsessive. But I kept it, just in case. I turned it on and slipped it into the laundry basket just outside our bedroom door, under a pile of clean towels. Then I walked back inside, napkins in hand, heart trying to punch a hole through my ribs. When I rejoined the party, something had shifted. Darcy was suddenly clingy, laughing too loud, kissing my cheek, grabbing my hand like she was trying to staple it to hers. It wasn't affection. It was control. She was scanning my face for clues, trying to read whether I knew. I gave her nothing. No warmth. No anger. Just polite nods and the occasional MMHM. Then Lennox disappeared. Just vanished from the living room. I noticed it immediately. So did she. Darcy kept glancing toward the stairs, like she was waiting for someone to return from a mission. She excused herself to the kitchen, again, and I followed a moment later, pretending to look for the bottle opener. She was texting. I didn't say a word, just opened a random drawer and closed it again. When she saw me behind her, she jumped. "Oh, hey, just checking in with Taylor. She might leave soon." "Cool," I said, opening another drawer. Did the cake melt or what? That hit a nerve. I saw her pupils twitch. "Oh, yeah, Lennox is bringing it up. He was just cooling it in the garage freezer." "Right. The same garage I was just in. With no freezer. With no cake." I nodded. "Must be some cake." She didn't respond. Moments later, the front door opened, and he walked in. Hoodie boy, the one from my bedroom. Now fully dressed. Hair wet. My heart stopped. Nobody even noticed him. Nobody cared. He blended in like a magician walking into his own trick. He headed straight for the snack table, grabbed a cookie, then disappeared into the dining room like he'd been there the whole time. But not me. I saw him. And worse, I saw Darcy look at him. And even worse than that, he didn't look at her back. Because he didn't need to. They'd already said everything they needed to say. Upstairs. In my house. While my name was hanging in gold letters on the wall behind them. You know that moment in a dream when you suddenly realize something is wrong, but you can't wake up yet? That was me, standing in my own house, watching people laugh and dance, while a complete stranger walked around like he belonged, and my wife played hostess like she hadn't detonated a grenade upstairs an hour ago. I kept watching Hoodie Boy. Let's call him that for now, since no one bothered to introduce us. He never strayed too far from the edge of the room, never spoke more than a sentence or two, and never looked in my direction again. He stayed just visible enough to exist, but just quiet enough to fade into the background noise. He was a shadow in a house full of light. I started asking myself questions I didn't want the answers to. How long had this been going on? Was this the first time, or just the first time I'd walked in on it? Had it started at work? Was Lennox just a red herring, some convenient decoy while the real danger slipped through the back door? And then came the whispers. Not loud enough to hear clearly, but too sharp to ignore. Not casual conversation, not party chatter. Whispers, pointed and careful. The kind you make when you're saying something you don't want repeated. I caught it once near the coat rack, again by the window, and once from two guests who looked like they'd just seen a ghost in the hallway. People were talking. Somebody else knew. That was the moment everything changed. Up until then, I thought I was the fool, the only one in the room without the full picture. But now I realized something worse. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a performance. And the audience? Half of them were in on the script. The music cut out for a second, like someone had yanked the AUX cord. There was a little laughter, some booing, and then a new playlist started. But that gap, that 1-second glitch, it let in the silence just long enough for me to hear something that made my blood go cold. From behind me, in the hallway leading to the stairs, I heard a girl say, "Wait, she didn't tell him?" Then another voice, lower, maybe a guy, "No. She said he was going to find out after the trip. Not tonight." They didn't see me. I was standing just inside the kitchen archway, half in shadow, holding a plate of untouched cheesecake I had no intention of eating. I set it down slowly and stepped back. After the trip? What trip? I walked outside to clear my head. Needed air. Cold air. Honest air. There were two people smoking on the porch, a tall guy with a buzz cut and a woman in heels that didn't look comfortable. I didn't know them. They gave me polite nods and kept talking. I pretended to check my phone and listened. I was learning that pretending was my superpower. "She's not going to go through with it," the woman said, flicking ash over the railing. "It's just drama. She always does this." The guy laughed. "I don't know. She already booked the Airbnb. Did you see the photos? It's all secluded and crap. Looks like a honeymoon spot." The woman scoffed. "Exactly. She's a mess. Poor guy has no clue." I turned and went back inside before they saw my face. That was it. That was the moment I stopped being hurt and started being angry. I was being staged. Played. Delayed. She wasn't going to tell me. Not tonight. Not this week. She was going to wait until after this trip, this romantic little retreat with someone who wasn't her husband. And then she'd come home with some pre-written, pre-approved speech about how she needed space or hadn't felt like herself and didn't want to lie anymore. But she was lying. Right now. In real time. To my face. In front of people I thought were friends. Some of whom were clearly just keeping their mouths shut because they didn't want to be the one to break the illusion. I went upstairs. No one saw me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. The bedroom door was cracked again. I opened it, stepped inside, and went straight for the laundry basket. My hands were shaking, but I found the towel pile and dug in carefully. The recorder was still there. The little red light still blinking. I turned it off, pocketed it. Then I sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, trying to figure out whether I wanted to hear what was on it now, or wait until later, when I could break down in private. Before I could decide, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Quick, light, then a voice. Darcy. Soft. Panicked. Harvey, are you up here? I didn't answer. She pushed the door open slowly and peeked in. Hey, I've been looking for you. What are you doing? I turned to face her, thinking. She stepped in and closed the door behind her. Are you mad? Mad. What a stupid word. Mad is when someone eats your leftovers. Mad is when someone leaves the gas tank empty. No, I said. I'm just trying to remember if we have a freezer in the garage. She froze, just like she did when I walked in earlier. Not a single blink. And in that silence, I finally said it. Who's the guy in the hoodie? For a moment, all she did was blink. Once. Twice. Her lips parted like she had a word queued up, but forgot which one. Then came the laugh. Light. Awkward. Too fast. The kind of laugh people use when they stub their toe in public and pretend it didn't hurt. What guy? She asked, stepping closer. I didn't move. The one in the hoodie. The one in our bedroom. The one drinking my whiskey like he wasn't hiding. She stood there, frozen, hands still at her sides, like her body couldn't decide whether to lie with gestures or words first. Oh, she said finally, dragging the word out like it was part of a longer sentence she hadn't written yet. That's just, he's a friend of Lennox. I think his name's Evan or Ezra or something. He needed a place to charge his phone, I guess. I stared at her, expressionless. You don't know his name? He just got here, babe. People brought +1s. You know how these things go. She smiled, but it was a bad smile. It didn't even make it to her eyes. It was like watching a puppet glitch mid-scene. Darcy, I said, quiet but deliberate. You said he was cooling the cake in the garage. She flinched. Not dramatically, but enough. I meant Lennox, she blurted. Lennox went to the garage to get the cake. That guy, he was just upstairs. He doesn't even know me. I didn't invite him. And yet, I said, slowly standing up, he was wearing your bracelet. She blinked fast. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. That was it. That was the confirmation. You don't fake confusion when someone's lying. You panic. But when someone's right, you go silent. I stepped past her and opened the door. Her hand darted out and grabbed my wrist. Not harsh, just enough to hold me in place. Harvey, stop. Please. You're making this into something it's not. I haven't even started yet, I said, and gently peeled her hand off me. Downstairs, the music had shifted again. Slower now. The kind of track you play near the end of a party, when people are starting to say their goodbyes and the sugar crash has kicked in. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, brushing past people I used to call friends. Every face looked unfamiliar now. Or worse, too familiar. I found Lennox by the record player, pretending to care about the vinyl selection. I didn't waste time. Hey, I said, mind stepping outside. He looked up like I'd caught him texting something embarrassing. His hand flew to his pocket. What's up? Outside. 2 minutes. He followed me out back. No protests. Just that dumb fake confidence people wear when they think they still have control. The yard was dark. Cold. Quiet. I didn't look at him when I spoke. How long? He blinked. What? I'm not repeating it. How long? Lennox sighed. One of those exaggerated sighs like he was being burdened by honesty. Like I was the problem now. It wasn't supposed to be like this, he said finally. She said she was going to talk to you. That she just needed time. Time for what? To figure things out. You guys were always so different. She didn't want to hurt you. I laughed. Just once, sharp and humorless. So she slept with someone else to avoid hurting me? He winced. I didn't say. You didn't have to. We stood in silence. My hands were fists in my coat pockets, nails digging into my palms just to keep me upright. I wanted to hit him. Not because he stole something from me, because he didn't. What he touched wasn't his to take. What broke wasn't his to break. I wanted to hit him because he knew, and he still came to the party. Ate my food. Brought the cake. Sang the song. She's not in love with me, he said after a long pause. You need to know that. That hit me in a way I wasn't prepared for. Because even in betrayal, I assumed there was feeling, passion, confusion, at the very least. But now I was hearing something else, something colder. She said she just needed comfort, a way out. I turned to him, finally, my voice flat. And you volunteered. He had the decency to look ashamed. She said it was over with you, that it had been for months. I stared at him for a long, slow beat, then said, if that's true, why is she still wearing her ring? He didn't answer. Neither of us moved for a while. Eventually, I went back inside. I didn't know where I was going, only that my legs had to keep moving or I'd collapse. Darcy was standing at the foot of the stairs, pretending to laugh with two guests. She saw me walk in, but her smile faltered. She knew something had shifted, knew that whatever thread she'd been pulling was now a frayed rope slipping through her fingers. I passed her without a word and went straight to my office. I had to hear it. The recording. I closed the office door quietly, locked it, and lowered the blinds. I didn't want interruptions. I didn't want explanations. I didn't want to see another fake smile or hear another carefully constructed sentence meant to soften something sharp. I just wanted truth, unfiltered, unscripted, unavoidably ugly truth. The little recorder was still warm in my palm. I plugged in a pair of old wired headphones, the cheap ones from a drawer full of unused tech junk, and hit play. Silence at first. Just the faint hum of the upstairs hallway. Footsteps. A muffled voice, Darcy's, I think, saying something I couldn't make out. Then a door opened, followed by the sound of fabric rustling and a soft thump. Then came his voice. I paused the tape. I don't know why. Maybe I needed a second. Maybe some part of me still hoped there was nothing here. But I pressed play again, because I had to. He was laughing. Hoodie boy. Not loud. Not mocking. Just a quiet, low chuckle, like the kind you make when something ridiculous just happened and you're not supposed to be amused by it. Then Darcy's voice came through clearly, closer to the mic this time. Stop laughing. You're going to get us both killed. Relax, he said. He's not home for another hour. You said that yourself. Still, we shouldn't have done it here. Done what? My stomach turned, but I kept listening. You don't stop when you're this close to clarity. You bleed for it. You said it was poetic, he replied. One last time. Full circle. The room you got married in. The room you're leaving him from. Silence. Then a sigh. Hers. I didn't think he'd still feel like a stranger after all this. That stopped me. Still feel like a stranger? What the hell was that supposed to mean? Then more movement. Footsteps pacing. A drawer opening. Probably the one with my shirts in it. Then a weird sound I couldn't place at first, until I realized it was her opening a pill bottle. Are you seriously taking that now? He asked. It helps me focus. Don't start. I'm just saying, maybe if you didn't need meds to survive being around him. Don't. Just stop. Not tonight. Something slammed. Then softer voices again. The recording dipped in volume as they moved away from the mic, but I could still catch pieces. You'll tell him next week? In Vermont. After we talk to Becca. I froze. Becca? Who the hell is Becca? Then Hoodie Boy, no longer laughing. If you don't, I will. I'm not going to be your secret forever. He doesn't even know she exists. Let me do this my way. She. My breath hitched. I rewound the audio to make sure I didn't mishear it. He doesn't even know she exists. She who? Who the hell exists? I felt like the room was spinning. The cheating, the lying, the fake cake, all of it was one thing. But this? This was something entirely different. There was no way I was misunderstanding this. We'll tell him once we're settled. Once it's done. He deserves to know. At least about. No. Not until the papers are filed. I don't want to give him ammo. My vision blurred. Not from tears. From rage. From the unmistakable realization that there were conversations happening around my life, about my life, that I was never meant to hear. This wasn't about infidelity anymore. This was strategy. Negotiation. Like my marriage was some kind of boardroom exit plan. And the worst part? She wasn't even emotional in the recording. Not really. No tears. No shaking voice. She sounded prepared. Like this was part of a script she'd rehearsed over and over. I let the tape run. More small talk. Jokes about who would get what room in the new place. Mentions of a dog. Lennox being just a backup plan if things went sideways. And then, casually, so casually it felt like a slap. He always thought I was with him because he grounded me. I stayed because it was safe. Not because it was love. I paused the tape. I couldn't listen anymore. For a long time, I just sat there, the headphones hanging around my neck, the quiet buzz of the stopped recording, the only sound in the room. She had a whole life planned without me. She had allies, conversations, people who knew what I didn't. Some of them probably downstairs right now, eating my snacks, drinking my drinks, posting party selfies. Like this wasn't the most disgusting day of my life. And now there was this other shadow. Becca. A she. Someone I didn't know existed. And the way Darcy said it, she didn't sound guilty about keeping her hidden. She sounded protective, which meant she cared, which meant this wasn't just about a fling or falling out of love. It was about something she built, behind my back, brick by brick. The door to the office shook. A soft knock. Then her voice. Harvey? Baby? Can we talk? I didn't answer. Not yet. Because now I had one more question. And I was afraid I already knew the answer. I didn't open the door. Not right away. I couldn't. Her voice came through too soft, too careful, like she already knew what I'd heard. Maybe she'd guessed about the recorder. Maybe someone had seen me go upstairs, seen me slip something from the laundry basket. Maybe Hoodie Boy warned her. Or Lennox. Who even knew anymore? It felt like I was surrounded by people pretending they weren't actors in a play I never auditioned for. Harvey, she said again, this time lower, the way she speaks when she's trying to win an argument without having it. I know you're mad. I just want to explain. Please don't shut me out. That choice of words. Shut me out. It nearly made me laugh. Like she hadn't shut me out months ago, maybe longer. Like this wasn't already a sealed vault of secrets I was just now fumbling my way into with a flashlight and shaking hands. I finally opened the door. She stepped back, startled, like she wasn't expecting me to actually do it. Her mascara had smudged slightly, just enough to show she'd rubbed her eyes, but not enough to suggest she'd really cried. Her hands were clasped in front of her, a rehearsed pose, fingers fidgeting. We stared at each other. I didn't say anything. She finally spoke. You heard something, didn't you? No denial. No feigned confusion. She skipped straight to damage control. I nodded, slowly. Yeah, I heard enough. Her lip trembled. Maybe real, maybe not. Can we please go somewhere else to talk? Not here. Not with everyone. Who's Becca? I asked. That landed like a punch. Her jaw tightened, just a little. A micro-expression, gone in a second. But I saw it. And she knew I saw it. She's not part of this, she said. But she exists. I wasn't asking. She inhaled, like she needed oxygen to finish the next sentence. Yes, but she's not your business, Harvey. She's not my business? I repeated, my voice sharper than I'd planned. You've been planning your escape, building a second life with people I've never even met, and you're telling me there are parts of it I don't get access to? Her face hardened. Just a flicker. I saw the corners of her control curl inward. Darcy always hated when she lost control of a conversation. You don't understand, she said quietly. I had to keep her separate. Why? Who is she to you? She opened her mouth and didn't answer. Closed it again. Looked away. Darcy. I said, softer now, because I didn't want to hear it screamed or weaponized. Who is she? Finally, she met my eyes. And her voice, when it came, wasn't defensive. It was maternal. She's my daughter, Harvey. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet. It was surgical, like every sound in the world had been cut off in one clean, sudden incision. I didn't speak. I didn't blink. I just stared. She kept going, as if now that it was out, the rest had to come too. Like the truth was some kind of avalanche that didn't stop halfway down the hill. She's 6. Her name is Becca. She's mine. I had her before I met you. But you told me. I stopped. I couldn't even finish the sentence. Because she had told me. I remembered it clearly. Late night. Early in our relationship. Me, casually asking if she'd ever been pregnant. She shook her head. No kids, she'd said. Never wanted any. Except she had one. And I'd been living with the mother of a child I never even knew existed. She stepped closer. I didn't lie to hurt you. I lied because I didn't think you could handle it. You're not built for chaos, Harvey. You like clean lines and scheduled meals and fixed expectations. Becca didn't fit that. So you erased her. I protected her. No, I said, shaking my head. You hid her. You designed a version of yourself that I could accept, and then built a marriage on it. And when it started to crack, you didn't try to fix it. You just waited for an exit. She looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. Who else knows? I asked. Does Lennox know? Hoodie Boy? She swallowed. Only Ezra. So Hoodie Boy did have a name. Ezra. Great. Is he the father? No, she said quickly. Too quickly. I watched her face shift in real time, realizing how that sounded. I mean, no, not biologically, but he's been there since Becca was born. So he's the one you're leaving with. She didn't nod. She didn't need to. And just like that, I understood everything. Why she was always traveling for work. Why certain dates on the calendar never lined up. Why she'd withdraw for days at a time, then come back with an overcompensated smile and a gift bag. The late-night calls she took on the balcony. The quiet, unexplained sadness that lingered in her eyes whenever we passed playgrounds or walked by tiny shoes in shop windows. I used to think she was mourning something she hadn't achieved yet. But no, she wasn't grieving a missing piece. She was hiding a whole separate life. Darcy wiped under her eyes. I wasn't trying to make a fool of you. I just didn't want to lose both worlds at once. I turned away. I couldn't look at her. The walls were starting to close in, not metaphorically, but literally. The office felt too small for all the versions of her I was trying to comprehend. The version I married. The version I lived with. The version I never even met. She took a step back toward the door, voice trembling now for real. I didn't know he'd come upstairs. I didn't invite him for that. It just happened. And it wasn't supposed to happen tonight. But it did. Yes. I sat down dizzy. And then, something new occurred to me. Something that made the room tilt a little more. You said after Vermont we'd talk. She didn't speak. I looked at her again. Really looked. Be honest. Were you even coming back? Her face broke. No, she whispered. I didn't cry that night. I thought I would. I thought I'd fall apart in the fetal position, shaking on the floor of the office where I'd built playlists for our road trips and booked anniversary dinners, and once spent 3 hours designing a stupid birthday card for her in Photoshop because she liked it better than Hallmark. But I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the carpet, at the way the light from the hallway spilled in under the door, and I let the silence settle. Not the heavy, suffocating kind I'd been drowning in all night. This was different. This was a clean silence, the kind you get after a storm. Broken fences, fallen branches, sure. But the air feels sharp. Honest. Darcy left. Not in a dramatic, screaming fight. No suitcase slamming or door breaking. She just stood there a while longer, said, "I'll send the paperwork next week," and then walked out. I didn't follow her. I didn't ask where she was going. I already knew. The party ended without me. Or maybe it just faded. Guests realized something was off and quietly slipped away. No one came to check on me. No one knocked. No one cared. It was honestly better that way. A slow, pathetic exhale to a night that began with balloons and ended with a ghost town of red Solo cups and dropped lies. The next morning, I cleaned the entire house alone. Every room. I threw out the decorations, packed up the leftover food, deleted every photo people had tagged me in online. I didn't want reminders. I wanted space. I wanted air. I wanted a floor I could walk on without stepping in something someone else spilled. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened my old notebooks. The ones I used to write in back when I thought I might do something with my voice. Back before the morning traffic reports and the predictable life I'd built like a Lego set missing half the instructions. I found one with a coffee ring on the cover and a half-finished story inside. And I kept writing. Not about her. Not about Ezra. Not even about Becca. Though I'd be lying if I said she didn't linger at the edge of every sentence. This idea of a daughter I'd never know and a woman I thought I knew. I wrote about starting over. Not the Instagram kind with palm trees and gym memberships. The real kind. The kind that begins in quiet places with dry eyes and tired hands. The kind where healing doesn't feel like fireworks, but like a small, unexpected inhale that doesn't hurt. Weeks passed. I went back to work. Got promoted, actually. Not because I was doing anything amazing, just because the guy above me moved on, and I was the only one left who knew how the soundboard worked. I didn't celebrate it, but I appreciated it. I started going for walks at night, just around the neighborhood. No headphones. Just me and the sound of leaves and the occasional dog bark. It helped. Reminded me the world kept moving, even if I felt stuck in one place. And then something strange happened. I started laughing again. Not a lot. Not every day. But it returned. Slowly. The first time was over something dumb. A raccoon falling out of my neighbor's trash can and sprinting away like it owed someone money. I stood there for a full minute, just laughing, alone on the sidewalk. It felt stupid. and really, really good. And then one morning, I opened my email and saw a message from a literary magazine I'd submitted to years ago. They'd finally read one of my short stories. Said they liked the voice. Said they wanted to publish it in their spring issue. It wasn't a big magazine. It didn't pay anything. But I smiled harder than I had in months. I made chili that night. The real kind. The kind that takes 4 hours and ruins your entire sink with dishes. I played a record. The old one Darcy hated. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't cooking for someone else. I was cooking for me. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. I just needed to remember who I was before I started orbiting someone else's life like a satellite pretending to be a star. That version of me. He's coming back.